Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. If you've already subscribed to our video channel, thank you. If you haven't, please do, and when you do, be sure and tap on the little notification bell. If you tap the little like button, we appreciate that too. Well, in our last video, I had a coughing fit and got over it. Everything is fine now, and I'm ready to go. We were replacing the primary chain on Jim's bike that we've been working on for a while now. So it has a new primary chain, and it's onto the clutch basket and the motor sprocket, in this case a vibration damper. And so we're ready to go. Now, in the end of this video, I don't normally say this, but at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a little trick. So if you're watching this video and you already have the information or you're getting the information, hang in there for the end little tidbit that I have. Okay. All right. So I'm ready to install this. Don't want the clutch plates to fall out, but they sure tried. And now they're back in place. Okay, so I'm going to carry this whole thing as it is and walk it over to the bike and put it in place as a single unit. So there it is, going on to the transmission main shaft. Now this is a 97, so it has a spline shaft. And there it is on the shaft. And here we are on the motor shaft. So we are there. So now, let me get a rag to wipe my hands with. This is a real oily job. It's just the way it is. Okay. So we're going to put the motor bolt here on. Now, one little drop of red Loctite is adequate. In fact, you might even take half of it out. I've taken these off with so much Loctite in them, it's like, do I spend the rest of my life cleaning it or do I throw it away? And actually it gets to the point where they're impossible to take off. One drop of red Loctite is what the factory recommends. And believe me, they know what they're talking about. Okay, now this is the main shaft nut for the transmission. And again, it is a left-hand thread. All right, I'm going to make a bunch of noise with the impact. Here we go, right about there. That compressor is up to capacity, I think. Yeah. Good. Okay, so we want a left-hand thread. And we don't want to kill this thing. We don't need to put hundreds of pounds of torque on it. Just that's good for a clutch basket. It is on there. We didn't ruin it. We didn't break it. The motor sprocket, well, we may try to break it. That's the one that needs a lot of torque on it. And that's it. So it's in place now. We can put the automatic tensioner back in here. Let's see if everything's here, still in place on the clutch. We've got the automatic tensioner here. Close Loctite. And that's roughly where I want that tensioner to be. Yeah, it really is. I could make it a little tighter. Now I say where I want it to be. My experience with this setup and this setup and this setup, this is what I find optimum to be. Now, when you've got this instead of a compensator, you want it to be a little tighter. So I'm going to do that. And the measurements and all the explanations on that are with the product when you buy it. Get that little shim under the spring, and I will like it better. And that's pretty nice. Now I can check it again, and I like it better. I think it's Jim, it's getting closer to ½ an inch that way. I think the product recommendation is like 9/16. And if you're using a solid type sprocket, like this one is, I mean, it's a vibration damper, but basically it's a solid piece. Okay, this piece here, this outer plate goes on with the beveled edge so that the shoe here will slide up and down easily on it. And we can put that back on. Now, if we put that back on, we can measure it and get a more accurate idea of what's really happening there. That little thin shim you made, Jim? Mm-hmm. I like that. That's why I used it. It's a nice one.
Yeah, the stock ones I think they come in varying thicknesses, didn't they?
Oh, they do. There's thin ones in there, yeah, but you end up using them up.
You have to mix and match as things are.
Okay. Now, see, that feels pretty nice. Okay. Now, that's actually, yeah, it's getting closer to what I like to see. I'd say it's fine. I think it's, we could add another thin shim. A thin shim for Jim. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take your thin shim out, and I'm going to put a slightly thicker one in there is what I'm going to do. Sorry, your shim ain't that wonderful. Actually, that looks like, no, that's the one I did. Okay. This is the sort of thing where you play around until you get it where you want it. So what I'm going to do is put this one in like this. Follow me? Mm-hmm. I think you'll like that. Let's see, was there one under there? Yeah, that's it. Okay. I surprised myself I did that so easily. That really went nice. Okay. Now I can look at it again and see we're right up there. It's over 1/2 inch, but it's not quite 9/16. It's good. I like it.
Cool.
The only thing is you're going to have the initial wear in with this chain. So we may want to adjust it in the not too distant future. This has to be very tight. You do not want that thing backing off. Okay, now we can put the clutch back together. Wherever my clutch pieces are, there they are now. Okay. This piece goes in first. This is a Rivera Pro clutch. I don't know if they're readily available yet, but I think they will be again. There's a lot of wonderful clutches on the market, really. Not a lot, but there are some other clutches that are similar. I think the Baker is similar in design. You know what? Before I put this on, I'm going to do this. In putting these together, the folks that built these Rivera Pro clutches made their recommendations, and their recommendations are quite good. Okay. Somebody wants to get a hold of cameraman Mike. Okay. What they want is anti-seize on these. And I've taken them apart that people didn't put anti-seize on. And it was an all-day project to take them apart. Ended up having to disassemble the whole unit from the back. Just a mess. The factory says put anti-seize here. Put anti-seize here. Okay. And I mean, you got to glob it on. I'm not being weird about it. Okay, that's back on. Now the spring goes on. And if I'm real lucky, it'll stay there for a minute. No, it won't. And I'll put these parts back in here. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let me rotate it slightly. That's it. Thank you. Okay, we'll put one down here. And one here. And one here. All right. Oh, that's going back together just perfect. I like the chain. It's a good idea to, his chain didn't wear prematurely or anything like that. Everything in it was good. We can look in here and, let's see, we can do it from this side. You want to look in and see that the teeth and the chain are all meshing together well. You want to see that there's daylight, just like on a rear chain, you want to see there's daylight between the plates, the outer plates of the chain, and the teeth of the sprocket. And they all look good. So, let's tighten up this clutch. Again, doing them evenly to keep from warping that plate in there.
Again, that's a diaphragm, right? So you don't want to get that warping or anything.
No. They are really a nice spring too. I do like diaphragm springs. That sounds like a place to visit, but you know, it's like radiator springs, you know. I mean, I don't want to visit Coil Springs. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, again, doing these evenly, and you just do them till they bottom. Once they bottom, they're done. You don't have to torque them to death. There's enough load on them, it's like they've got a lock washer behind them, you know.
And then you line up the flat with one of the tabs.
Yeah. Now you line up the tab with one of the flats.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Actually, that one's a little bit in my way. Just a little bit. Can't quite get the wrench on there well. You try to get them all even, you know, and you just go, well, there we go.
One of the nice things about that tensioner is it makes shifting smooth.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell you need to shim it if it stops shifting. Real.
Yeah, when I first started experimenting around with them, I found that to be very true. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now the easiest way I've found to do these, take a pair of channel locks and go like that. This one, it's got to go like that. You're just biting them, you know, but they need to be locked like that. And there it is. Okay, now all we need to do is adjust the clutch. And that looks about right to me. You know what I'd like is an 11/16 wrench. All right. Thank you. Just want to do this and then check it. And I promised something at the end of this video, but we're going to have to cut off and come back with it. So until then, see you out on the road.